What's up, everybody? Renfail here, back for another Rings of Power discussion slash rant video. Today we are back on the topic of Mithril, the legendary ore that was used in a variety of places by a variety of different creatures and races in Middle-earth. And yet, in the Rings of Power show, they tried to do this ridiculous retcon that said that it only came from the Misty Mountains and that it was some magical combination of power from a Balrog, light of a Silmaril, and lightning from the sky, creating this magical uh, ore that the elves, for some reason, need to restore their glory and to help them no longer decay or fade away. We're going to be diving into all of the ways that that breaks the established lore of Middle Earth. We're going to be diving into what is Mithril exactly, where was it used, what are the historical references for it within the Legendarium and beyond. So if you like this kind of stuff and you're new here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so that you can continue to get updates like this delivered to you as I continue to cover things around Rings of Power. Don't forget, those of you who are returning, every Monday at 11 a.m. I also do the Mondays in Middle Earth series where I read through The Hobbit, The Lord of the Rings, and The Silmarillion, and we may be going beyond depending on if the audience wants us to dive into the histories of Middle Earth and etc. Today, actually, I've got my Kindle here, and one of the first things that I've been to do, one of the phrases that inspired me to do this video is because I just did the first chapter of The Return of the King. I finally got to The Return of the King. We did the first chapter, and in the first chapter, there is a section of text which talks about the armor of the guards in Minas Tirith, who are wearing this armor that has been handed down from the days of Numenor. And this is one of those one of these moments where we have clear references to Mithril being more than just available in the Misty Mountains, not just in the Misty Mountains, but also in Numenor and in Aman as well. So we're going to be diving into some of that today. So let's get started. First and foremost, if you go back to the Legendarium itself, Mithril is nothing more than a precious metal, highly prized for its strength, lightweight, and malleability. This is from the Tolkien Gateway. Elves called this substance Mithril, but the dwarves had their own secret name for it, also known as Moria silver or true silver, although unlike silver, it did not tarnish or grow dim, and it was desired by all the different races. Historically, it was found in the Misty Mountains in lodes leading north from the underground dwarven city of Moria towards Caradhras and down to Darkness. It was also found in the island of Numenor and probably in Aman as well. Now, the probably here is interesting. We're going to be diving into these, but first I want to talk about the fact that it was found on the island of Numenor. Now, one of the places they reference this is in the disaster of Gladden Field, which is part of the further materials that Christopher Tolkien edited is a chapter from the Unfinished Tales. And there's the legend of Isildur's death, and it talks here about when Aragorn ascended to the throne, one of the first tasks he took up was to restore the Palantir recovered from Saruman at Orthanc. When Orthanc was searched for its secrets, hoards of treasures were discovered. Elendilmir and a gold case attached to a fine chain was found among them, kept in a hidden strong steel closet. Elendilmir, which is a white star of elvish crystal set upon a mithril fillet, descended from Cimmerian to Elendil, was the sign of royalty of the northern kingdom taken by Elendil. Elven smiths of Rivendell had made a copy of Elendil from Valandil and was borne by every king and chieftain of the north, including Elisar, but it could not match the potency and ancestry of Elendil of the west. Aragorn never impaled Elendir once it was recovered. So this is one of the references. The reference that I found that originally inspired me to want to do this recording and further discuss Mithril can be found in Chapter 1 of The Return of the King. The chapter is called Minas Tirith, and I'm going to read the paragraph here. And this is when Gandalf and Pippin are first arriving into the city and they're going up to meet Denethor. And it says, as they've come out of the shadow of the seventh gate, they're walking up to this section. It says, the guards of the gate were robed in black, and their helms were of strange shape, high crowned, with long cheek guards close fitting to the face, and above the cheek guards were set the white wings of sea-birds. But the helms gleamed with a flame of silver, for they were indeed wrought of mithril, heirlooms from the glory of old days. Upon the black surcoats were embroidered in white a tree blossoming like snow beneath a silver crown and many pointed stars. This was the livery of the heirs of Elendil, and none wore it now in all of Gondor save the guards of the citadel before the court of the fountain where the white tree once had grown. So here we have livery of Numenor, from Elendil and the heirs of Elendil, carried with them to Middle-earth, and also used here, which is another reference to the fact that Mithril was also found in Numenor, not just the Misty Mountains. Now, the Aman one is a little more obscure, and that's why they say probably. Um, so this is from the reference here is from the Song of Eärendil, if I pronounced that right, which was written by Bilbo and Aragorn, and it's sung by Bilbo when the hobbits reach Rivendell in the Fellowship of the Ring. There's a really cool moment in the book. Um, and it talks about the story of Elrond's father, Eärendil, who was a mariner who built a boat. Now, we go through the whole poem. I'm not going to read the whole poem here because it's really, really long. But we get to the midway through towards the latter part, it says, a ship then new they built for him of mithril and of elven glass with shining prow. No shaven oar nor sail she bore on silver mast. The Silmaril as lantern light and banner bright with living flame, to gleam thereon by Elbereth herself was set, who thither came, and wings immortal made for him, and laid on him undying doom, to sail the shoreless skies and come behind the sun and light of moon. So this is discussing the ships that were built, or the ship, I should say, not the ships, the ship that was built for Erendil to sail in the skies evermore with the light of the last Silmaril in the sky. This is a reference to this boat that was built by, if I'm not mistaken, by the Valar. Um, for him after his tenacity. And it's a further reference to Mithril being more than just found in the Misty Mountains and being much more than just this ore that's been retconned in the Rings of Power to be this magical thing that can somehow save the elves. That was never what Mithril was. Mithril was just a special ore. It had no magical properties. It was just something that was worked by the various peoples of Middle Earth. Now, if you want to read about this in full detail, you can go over to the Tolkien Gateway. There's other places, but this tends to be the most accurate. They discuss things about the mithril vein of the Misty Mountains. They talk about King Tar Telemaite of Numenor, who received his name, which means silver-handed, because he loved silver and always commanded his servants to search for mithril. This is from, it says number 9. What is number 9 here? The line of Eldros, king of Numenor, and we can very quickly open this up and do a search for mithril. We don't actually see it real quick, but apparently this is something else that references this. Um, it says, after the downfall of Numenor and the removal of physical Aman from the world in the age of the Second Age, the mines of Moria were the only source of mithril in the world after that point. And mithril is worth 10 times its weight in gold when it could be mined by the dwarves. And eventually, it couldn't be mined because it was there. So other mithril creations, it says the ship, which we already talked about. I think it's pronounced Viglote. I may be butchering that pronunciation. It was a gleam of true silver, visible to the world as the evening and morning star. It was built from mithril and elven glass, as the poem says. Then we have the Star of Elendil, which we already talked about. The helmets of the guards of the citadel of Minas Tirith, which I just read about. There's, of course, the mithril coat, which was made by dwarves and given to Bilbo Baggins, and the crown and the standard of Elendil, which is made by Arwen for Aragorn itself. Very interesting stuff regarding Mithril and how it is much more a historical part of the Legendarium than simply a dwarven metal infused by magical powers, as the Rings of Power suggests, because that never actually happened. This is one of those things where I have to question how it doesn't contradict um, existing lore, and this is one of those areas where Simon Tolkien and the Tolkien estate have apparently signed off on this, which baffles me. But apparently, maybe I guess to them, anything that doesn't contradict the story of Sauron and the rings and so on and so forth, I don't really know. But clearly, Mithril is a lot different in the actual Middle Earth tales that we have as opposed to what we see in Rings of Power. Love to hear your thoughts and comments below. For those of you who are here during the premiere, thank you so much for giving me your time this morning at 6 a.m. I'm always here chatting away with you guys at the premiere. So if you want to support the channel, now's the time to do so. You can do a super chat or a sticker during these premieres and live streams. You could join as a member of the Adventurers Guild down there and support like all of these amazing people. Also go over to the Patreon page, or you can just drop a super thanks on this video after the fact. And let's have a discussion. Let's talk more about Mithril. If you know any other sources beyond this, because I haven't read all of the unfinished tales or any of that stuff, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Until next time, everybody, happy reading. Look forward to seeing you in the next one, every 6 a.m. here on YouTube.